They can be considered to be an evil sometimes. They have to be a necessary evil depending upon what era your wrestling career is in. Well, the experience, I have different eras of experience with Bradshaw. As you can see, working the right to censor, then working the hardcore title, and then just general matches here and there with John. And then, of course, fast forward to the Blue Meanie stuff and everything from One Night Stand and then SmackDown. It was not an easy night. It was not a night off with those guys. And that era of wrestlers, too, they can either be rough with you in a safe way or just be rough with you in general. During the right to censor days, they were kind of rough with me in general. But then again, if you look at it from Bradshaw and Faarooq's point of view, I'm getting heavier. I'm looking lazy. My work is suffering. I'm not really bumping crisp. I'm not really there for things I should be there for with my timing, and all the chemistry was off. They weren't trying to per se hurt me or triple me or anything like that, but I think they're very much old school style wrestlers in that regard. Bradshaw's a rough dude to wrestle. Impossible? No, not at all. I got the different iterations, like say the right to censor stuff. I didn't wrestle Bradshaw a whole lot, but I got physicality like after the match with the APA doing stuff to me or the Dudleys putting me through a table. Then when I wrestled him with the hardcore stuff, he was there with everything, but it just felt different. But then again, I was in much better shape. I could recover. I could take punishment. I wasn't just some doughboy that was getting thrown around like a piece, for all I know, when they picked me up too, I might have unintentionally dead-assed them and been a sandbag because I wasn't able to control the extra 50 to 60 pounds that I had. So Bradshaw's got the reputation. He's done stuff. I witnessed it. There was a little hazing stuff like I talked about in the beginning. I think Bradshaw just busts balls, for lack of a better term. He just messes with you. If you sell it to a certain extent, he's going to keep doing it. That's just anybody. And also, they're Undertaker's buddies. Undertaker is the judge at Wrestler's Court. He's the leader of the locker room. These guys are the enforcers. Now, you can look at years after people like the APA are in the locker room, or people like Bradshaw, the enforcers, the policemen. You could maybe put Bob Holly in that kind of category as policing wrestlers to kind of fall out of line. But my question out there, and people can comment below, would you rather have it be that way, or would you rather have AEW where it is a complete wild, wild west scenario and nobody's kept in check? I don't quite have a good answer. There's so many positives to the current generation of locker rooms where you really can be made to be the best, and you can be the best with less stress. But then again, other people that in certain ways take advantage of the current system, and you see things like, the brawl out thing, the press conference, people chirping back and forth. People like Bradshaw, Faarooq, Bob Holly, and other people can keep those things in check too. So they can be considered to be an evil sometimes, but in certain points, they have to be a necessary evil depending upon what era that your wrestling career is in.
With Faarooq and Bradshaw, I've got 3 moves written down here. I always wince at a Bradshaw powerbomb because I can always put myself in that position where you try and tuck your head and just the force bounces your head back anyway. But the powerbomb, the clothesline, or Faarooq's spine buster, which of those were just like, oh no, you could never get away from the fact that they just hurt.
I've never been powerbombed by Bradshaw, which is great because you want to talk about my dead fat ass going. I take powerbombs awful. Like I took Undertaker's Last Ride, the worst that anybody ever took it. I'm always tempted, like at least once every month when I think about whatever Taker's matches pop up on YouTube. I'm like, I just want to call this guy and apologize because I know I sucked. I owe him that much. Like I would love to just give him a good Last Ride bump just to make up for, even if we just did it on a pad in a wrestling school. Okay, I sat up. I didn't dead ass shit. Here's the thing with Bradshaw with the clothesline. He can throw it any way he wants to. And I've been on both sides where some have been pretty rough. And once again, that could be being out of shape. The hardcore title stuff, he had it down to where it was literally a shoulder block, and this would kind of pop through. But to me, that makes a great worker, because even when I would look at it before I took it, I'm like, oh my God, he's taking the guy's head off. But when I got in there and took it and felt the shoulder and then his forearm across the other end, and he kind of brings it in an upward trajectory, and then I would make sure that my legs would go over my head, because then he'd be like, okay, I don't need to give him a second one. How's that? The scariest move for me that I took really bad on a SmackDown, I came out as the APA with the UPN symbol on that, was the Dominator. I cannot backflip to save my life. Once again, this big fat ass I have. And I got pogo sticked, and it was totally my fault. So Faarooq's Spinebuster, I never took it, but it's no different than Batista's. You're slamming down every bit as hard as Hunter, Arn, anybody else, but because there's so much bounce, he pops up to his feet like Batista and makes it look like he drove you through the mat. It's not any stiffer than getting the wind knocked out of you by anybody else.
Should we save the
Now the kick to the kidney? I wouldn't have him kick me like he did on Matt Johnson. That would not be something I would be happy about.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that really well. But that was back in the days when, something would happen and they would replay it week after week after week. You could never forget it, which I sort of miss those days. I know they're like more basic. Maybe it's rose-tinted glasses. I just like the way they presented TV back in the old days.
Well, Ahmed was out. I mean, if you showed that a million times, it's like Chad Gable literally getting shot in the head backstage in the girl position and then winning his match next week. So you can't play it all the time because you expose how phony it is.
Is this a good time to bring up, because you've already mentioned it, the Undertaker Last Ride from Hell? Is it right? So in my mind's eye, I thought it was Taka Michinoku where Undertaker shows Kane how to do the last ride. But then I read something that it was you.
Oh, no, it wasn't me.
Person.
No, it wasn't him showing. I remember that. He wasn't showing. He needed Glenn's help to get me up. And I was really, really embarrassed. And probably that's, I don't blame Undertaker if he does dislike or hate me or doesn't appreciate me as a worker. But that did stick in the back of my mind. Taking that last ride really terrible. That was one of the things. And I think it wasn't long after that the Ivory incident happened on the weight scale in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I got sick and tired of being sick and tired. There was no way to go up to Taker, even though I probably did apologize and he was like, whatever, and walked away, which he should. What am I going to say? The only thing I could do to show any kind of remorse, not only to my own self to get healthy, but show the boys that, yeah, I know I'm being terrible right now with my bumps and all that stuff. The weight loss, all that stuff will hopefully turn it around for me. Now, I don't think I've had 4 conversations with Taker, including the one after the chair shot to JBL. I didn't have too many run-ins with him. Our conversations may have lasted 90 seconds the most, and that's about it.